Hi, it's Juris and welcome to Tattoo Shop Talk, and today we will take a very basic look at Photoshop for tattoo works. This is a good information for those who don't know anything about Photoshop or knows very little. So somebody who's starting with the Photoshop, and also in my opinion any desk person working in tattoo shop should know these basics, because a useful desk person can speed up process for the whole team. And let's say your shop could make 10 tattoos in a day and now they can do like 13, 14, 15, because all this photoshopping process is going fast. It can be helpful with creating bigger pieces that we will do in the end. We'll have fun with some typical design and some little bits where you work with images. So let's look into that. And a little tip here: if you are buying Photoshop, look into other bundles that they offer. Photoshop on its own is more expensive than the photography bundle, where you get Photoshop and a Lightroom and you pay way less, so you get extra app, you don't have to use it, but you pay less. That's a pro tip. That's one customer helped me with that, so that was super nice of him. Thank you, Christian. This will be very basic tutorial on just how to understand where is what and how to use those things and how the basic principles of Photoshop work. Don't expect any advanced stuff. It might be useful if you are one of these people who don't know what shortcuts are. If you're one of them who go free transform, and then does that, done. Learn shortcuts, super useful stuff, speeds up work by a bunch. Okay, I have notes here, so we're gonna go through the Photoshop things. I'll open up new page and I will open new A4 page. You can choose A4s, A3s, and you can put your own formats. So let's go into new, or shortcut Command N or Control N on Windows. I'm now learning on a Mac, so I have to relearn all the stuff. So what is here? We choose A4. There's the size of a page in millimeters. You can change to inches, centimeters, millimeters, and all that good stuff. And here is a resolution, DPI, pixels per inch, and that's very useful. Let's say you transfer image from your iPad and it opens way smaller or way bigger than it was on A4 on iPad. Then difference might be in resolution, so check the DPI, so it have to match on both on your iPad and on your computer device. So this is A4, and let's look at it. What do we have here? Let's start with layout, and there's a bunch of stuff. Basically every one of these sections can have video on their own, and there probably is by some tech-savvy Photoshopists that explains in depth every section. But let's start from the top. We have File, Edit, Image, Layer, Type, Select, Filter, 3D View, Plugin, Windows, Help. So I would say we will need File, Edit, Image, maybe a little bit, Layer, maybe a little bit from Select, and the Filter. And we will use only few parts from this because there's a crazy amount. This is very powerful program, so this is not in depth. And on the side we have a bunch of tools, move tool, selection tool. You can choose different shapes how you select. There's different types of selection: lasso, polygon, magnetic, magic one. And now also with new versions there's some new powerful AI stuff, which I don't know that much about it because I was working on an old program very long time until I got this one. Let's start how you get image in a Photoshop. You can open image by Command O, or you go into the file and open there, but Command O is faster. You can also scan image, then you go into File, Import, Images from Device. You select the part that you want to scan or the whole image, and you scan it in, and you got it in that way. You can also obviously use screenshots and open them. It's Command Shift 4, I think, or Command Shift 5, and you can select the area, and you can also copy images. Let's say you have find some image that you want to use. Do the two-finger click on Mac or right-click on Windows. Copy image, back to Photoshop, Command N for new, and it knows the image size and it opens in that size, and Command V, or which would be paste from edit here. But we use shortcuts, Command V, ba-bam, we have this thing in there. Now all your regular shortcuts are the usuals. Command C, Command V for copy and paste, Command X is cut, and then you can paste it. To select all, it's Command A. Let's say Command A, you select it all, and then you can paste it in the new page. Well, let's say we have this A4 sheet here. Command A, Command C, Command V, and it opens in there. Now, since we copied it all, it also copied in the background, so we will use some tools later to separate it from the background. And while we are on our A4 page, the way Photoshop works, it layers images. So we have our background, and when we paste a new image, and it's on top of that background. We can also manipulate the image by Command T. Say we take selection tool, and then we double finger click or right click, and we have free transform, and then we can manipulate image, or the shortcut Command T, very useful shortcut, remember that one. So you can increase, decrease size. You have to play around which button on which system works as a button that makes it it changes both sides identically so it doesn't get distorted. On my Mac it's Option key, so you can now change this shape, and then by holding Command it lets you warp, Command Z to cancel it, and by holding Shift you can change shapes in all sorts of ways. Press Enter to keep it in place. Let's put another thing on the sheet just so I can show you what's going on. Command D is to deselect. Let's select this lady head again, and we copy it. Command C, back to this one, Command V. So you see here it's stacking one above each other on the side here where are layers. We can also change those positions by just dragging layers up and down. There's a bunch of useful stuff here on the side. You can change opacity. For example, you need to see where you locate it, so you can make it a bit lighter, or you have to match some sort of sizings and stuff like that. Let's get it back to 100, and then there are blending modes, and usually I use multiply. That makes it sort of transparent, so it removes background in that way. Best it works with just the line works with black and white. And then there are some effects down here. It's mainly I use stroke effect and sometimes drop shadow if we're talking about tattoo works. And a stroke can be something that will save your butt at some point. Trust me. You can switch on and off layers if you want to or don't want to see them. And also don't forget on which layer you are on, because let's say you want to change something here, but you are still on this layer. Everything you will do, the selections, transformations will work on that layer. So remember which layer you are selected. And there's this little tick which is auto select. By selecting auto select, it will know which layer you're clicking on. You can see lady head, boom, compass, boom, back to the lady head. Now let's look at the side here. There's a bunch of selection tools. With the line work, it's pretty simple. You can cut out with any of them. Some of them can be more useful than others in other situations. We have a compass here, and we want to get rid of background and just select just these bits. So we can use the good old magic wand, click here, bam, and it has selected it all around the compass. You can play around with tolerance, so then it chooses does it want to select more or less stuff, Command D, and now it magically selected more of the highlighted stuff, so less precise would be with less tolerance. Let's drop tolerance down to 2 with 30. Yeah, and it has selected the background, but we don't need the background, we need foreground. So we can go here in selection and do inverse selection, or just remember the shortcut Command Shift I. Let's go with shortcut Command Shift I. And now we copy it, Command C, to our training sheet, Command V, and it's kind of the same compass, but if we remove background, we can see that the first one still have the whole background, and this one took out just the compass. Now in new versions of Photoshop, there's also object selection tool, and that will select object. That's a way more powerful tool. Let's see where we can use it. Flower. So you can get away with magic selection tool with magic wand on pictures like this, where background is relatively blurry and your subject is sharp. But again, you have to play around with tolerances and all that jazz, while when you take object selection tool, you just hover over the object, ba-bam, click it, and it's selected. Let's copy it, Command C. Let's go to our junkyard and drop it in here, Command V, and we have a rose. And once we have copied to new sheet, we don't need this one, so we can close it. So it's more clean up here. To zoom in and to zoom out, it's Command plus and Command minus. I don't even know the non-shortcut ones. Well, You can zoom in with 2 fingers and all that stuff. Let's grab a bird. Let's see if magic wand would work. It works on the sky. It doesn't work that great on the ground. Let's select sky, and then if we keep shift, we can add extra selections. This is a bit messy in this instance. If we drop tolerance to like 10, boom, shift, boom, boom. Even worse, let's put it up a bit in the 50s. Keep on shift to add selection. A bit better job. Pretty good job, I would say. Up. Let's see what happens if we command shift I to invert it, and then we copy it, and let's throw it in here. You see it copied, but it got all the junk that we need to clean up. To clean up, you can use selection, select those parts and delete it, or there's eraser tool, and then you can change up here the size and the hardness. So this is pretty harsh, and if we drop hardness down, then it have a bit softer edge. Boom, so it fades kind of more nice. Let's delete this layer. We can do it here, delete layer. Yes, let's get back to this image. Command D, deselect, and let's use object selection tool. Click on it, Command C, zoom out, Command V, and we have it here. Now I'll show you one useful thing where you can use effects, which I mentioned as a butt saver in few instances. Let's start with one. Now we are going down here and using type tool. Now in this new Photoshop it puts this crazy text, but let's do Command A to select it all and delete it. Oh, I just did delete it. Let's do something cool and trendy. Old English is pretty popular now, and let's write something awesome. Angel. No, let's spell it angle. And we select it here, and we can choose where text is located by these things. That's especially useful if you have multiple lines. And here you can manipulate font size, how spread out it is, the distance in between lines, and all sorts of stuff. Let's make it a bit more readable. Angle, almost like angel. And we need a stencil for it, but we need just the outlines. So how do we go about it? We can make this text white. We can do it now or later, but it's easier to see what's happening if we do it now. Select it all by Command A, and here we can choose color, and we change it to white. And now we do the following. We go to the layers effects, and we go to stroke, and you can see probably I've done it before, but you can change here inside, outside, center, and here you can change how thick the stroke will be. For this size, something around 10 would be perfect. Let's zoom in. Could be even thinner. We can get back to it. Stroke, and let's say 8. Bam. And we have a stencil. Another way where it can be super useful. Let's say you made a design on Procreate, but for some reason you used way too thin brush, so you use like 1 pixel or something, and you need a thicker stencil. Or maybe you made it big, and when you shrunk it, it's way too thin, and your stencil printer can't see it. There's one useful selection tool in a select section, and it's select by color range. Let's zoom in. Let's say click it here. So we clicked on the black, or you can play around here, which is a bit too much for me. It will select just that color. Let's zoom out. Command minus, minus, minus. And it's a full image. So if I try to select other how, then it will select the background as well. And now we have selected just the black. I will copy it. Command C, Command V. So I'll copy it on a separate layer. If we remove background, there's nothing. There's some vague stuff going on, but we go into effects, stroke, and we can play around with thicknesses, and boom. Not the perfect stencil, but once you run it through the stencil machine, you have something way better to work with. It can save your butt also in the blocking situations with all those skinny Pinterest triangles. Useful tool to select just the color. Saving the stencil, making the lines, all the good stuff. Now let's play around and try to make a classical sort of F-boy sleeve. We have a bunch of images in, we know how to scan them, how to open them, how to select things. Let's start with new page. Let's start with A3. I found the A3 here. Otherwise you can look up the size online and put it in manually. But let's go here, resolution, 300 dpi, whatever. I use that one. usually. So this is A3 sheet, and if you don't have an A3 printer, there's an easy way how to print A3 sizes on 2 sheets of paper. Let's stick to that in the end. Let's go with the F-boy sleeve. We'll have lion with the crown and some text and some stuff around. Now let's open an image, Command O, and I have our most popular internet lion. As you see, it opens in a new sort of section, so we'll have to copy that to the sheet. Let's see, what else do I have? There's another lion, that's not gonna cut it. Let's see, maybe we can work with this one. A bunch of sexy stuff. Crown, yeah. There are probably better ways how to go about it, but let's go. And if you don't see what you are dealing with, click on this drop down here and it will open things up. Well, we can go by selecting it manually and go bit by bit. Let's see what it'll do with this one. It selects with this one. So let's use this one. Pa-pow. Let's select it, Command C, and to our empty sheet, and Command V. That's a small lion. It's always better to work with higher quality pictures, because then it will also come out as a higher quality picture. It's almost nice, but I want to get rid of these dark parts here. So now we can take the magic wand. Maybe a bit much. Well, it's deleted. Considering that we will add other objects, this might be just fine for now. Let's see what we do later on. Select the object. It also did select the object, and now let's do the magic wand just to see if it works. Magic wand, boom, boom, boom. It's selected. Command Shift I. It selected an inverted selection, so now we have just the object. Command C. There we are. Command V. Now Command T to transform. Yeah. Tilt it a bit because it's more hip-hoppy. Now this bottom part doesn't make sense because it would be behind lion's head. So now we can use eraser tool and erase that part, and I would say pretty hard cut. You can erase just manually moving it. There's a cool trick. If you press once to delete and it remembers the spot, and then you hold Shift, boom, and it deletes in a straight line from there. So that can speed up your process. Hold Shift, click it there, hold Shift, bam, hold Shift, bam. This is not a master course, this is for you just to understand basics. We zoom out, let's clean up around this ear. So we have all the 3D effects in the building. Other one. Yeah. Command minus, and if you want to clean up the sides and don't have that roughness, let's zoom in. You see there's all this madness, but we don't think we'll see it in the future anyway, but just to show the idea, let's change hardness to like 2%. Bigger brush, and you see I didn't select correct layer, so I have to get back here, and now it's sort of fading it out. If you want a smoother look, or you're one of them people who likes to put all this stuff throughout the designs, Command Z to cancel. You can fluffen up all these, boom, make it more faded, because that's what designs do these days, they fade into skin. Or you could use higher resolution image, but we just messing around. Now what is it missing? It has to say King in a graffiti type of font, because that's what cool kids do. So let's take a type tool from here and boom, all caps, KING. And it's in white color because we did the previous thing on there. Let's change it back to black. Kableem, and let's increase the size. Nice. It's actually kind of cool that it's behind. Just let's click on somewhere, make it not bold, and let's choose some cool kids font. Let's go with some graffiti type of stuff. I have it here. You can find a bunch of fonts online. If you don't have one, you will find one. And with the move tool, let's move it around. Press Command T, back to here. Boom, Command A to select it all, and let's decrease distance. Command T, you can rotate it. And if you need more precision, you can use just the arrows on the keyboard to get it in place where you want it. Yeah, I like that it goes kind of a bit behind, but it doesn't go behind lion. That's because of layers. So let's move it down. And now if we move it again, boom, it goes behind the lion. But we need to read it, so let's leave it. See, I wrote it out in 4 sheets and I still can't get my act together. Let's add something else in here. I don't think we need these paws, so we can delete those. Let's just erase them. Eraser tool, boom. Boom. Skull. Let's go with the skull. And let's select it. Object selection tool. Clever, clever, clever. Command C. Back to our project. Command V. Maybe a bit smaller. Yeah, we put it there, and now we can go into effects. And again, with the stroke effect, we can sort of separate it from the background, so we can have a black line or white or any other color, so it would sort of have this cartoony effect and it would separate it from the background. Or another thing that you can do, let's cancel this one, effects, either glow, so it's more like you can change the distance and you can change the opacity, but it's more like sort of smooth effect, and you can change blending modes. So it's a smoother roll off, and you can change all sorts of stuff, color and whatnot if it matters. Or you can use the good old drop shadow. Let's move this here, so you can change the angle of the drop shadow. You can sort of play around from which direction the light is coming from, opacity, distance, and all sorts of stuff to have that more realistic look. Light's coming from that side maybe, and put it there. And we have some sort of separation. Boom, beautiful. And then the guy probably is gonna show it to his girlfriend, and she's gonna be like, oh no, that's so scary, we need something nicer. So we go with Command O. Let's get back to this rose. Boom, select it, beautiful. Command C, Command V. Okay, so we have pasted our rose on here. Let's change the size, Command T. And you can flip it horizontal here or vertical, or you can rotate it, or you can warp it, distort it, skew it. It can be useful in all sorts of situations. If you want to change like the perspective, or it's a picture taken from a weird angle. But this time we will flip horizontal, and I'll show you what's the difference, because you can also go to image rotation. If you flip it through here, it's gonna flip the whole thing. We don't want that, so we flip just the image. Now girlfriend likes the rose, we remove the skull. That's not skull. There's our skull layer. Bam. Yeah, girlfriend approves. She says it's beautiful. Angle it a bit here, and to make it stand out, again, let's do the drop shadow. Yeah, so it fills this space, and we're building kind of sleeve, maybe a bit smaller. Enter, and let's go to effects, and let's put a little drop shadow. Bam. Let's change an angle so the light is shining on the crown and the lion, and boom, and it makes it stand out from the background as well. Put another object here, and I was thinking a pocket watch, or even better a compass, which I have it here. And let's use the smart tool again, and on this picture it's so good that it can detect that it's separate objects, and we can select just this part because that's what we want. You could also go manually, you could select with magic wand, or you can go bit by bit. Back to the project, Command V. We pasted it there, Command T to transform. Let's move it here. Sometimes you can move a little dot from the center away, and that will just change where it's rotated around which point. Compass, because guy have worked on a ferry for 2 weeks, so he's a sailor for sure. And that's always to get safe back home. Let's move it behind the rose there. Beautiful. And probably same drop shadow effect. So stroke effect can be good to separate objects for the stencils, because then it has more defined outline. Nice. Now let's do some more interesting typing. Let's go to the shapes. You can select, you can have triangles, polygons, squares, but for this ellipse shape, so what it does, it draws circles. And then here we can see if you want to have some color or no color of the line. Boom, the same with the fill. You can fill it if it helps you to see it better, or you just need to draw a shape, for example. In this instance, we don't need fill and we don't need line. So we have this situation here. Where did it go? So we can adjust it here, or we can just draw it as we want to. Once we use a type tool, it's gonna follow this line. So we need a bit of space around the compass. Will do. Maybe let's stretch it out a bit. I want to see some line, because then it's easier to place where it is. And we take a type tool and we press on this, and we can write kids' names. Let's take some nicer font, something scripty. Kids' names and birthdays. Maybe not this font. Command A. See, what else do we have? Beautiful. Let's make it a bit more spaced out. Yeah, we can move it by moving this shape, and we can also, so that's, we got the text on outside, but we can also go here, change shape to path, so we don't have the shape, and then we grab this arrow, and then with selection tool, when we have selected path, we can also type on inside of circle, which has been always hard to remember, but this time we need it on outside. Let's put Command Z, and yeah, you can put kids' names in there. Command A to select all, maybe a bit bolder so we can see it a bit better, of course. That seems fantastic. Actually pretty horrible, but we're having fun here. Can unclip the ellipse. Text move tool, I can move it a bit up so it hugs the compass a bit nicer. There we go. So we have this piece going on. Let's throw that bird in there as well, just because we can. Oh, I love this tool. Bam. Command C, Command V, behind it or in front of it. Drop shadow. Do we need to drop shadow? Why not to drop a shadow there? This layer, effects, drop shadow. Nice. So we have a sleeve happening. Can we put that female's eye somewhere? Ellipse. See what's going on. Command C. Common Raven. Copyrighted image. I'm just demonstrating stuff here anyway. I'm not using for any commercial use. Eyeball the eyeball the eyeball. So with the soft eraser, fade it in. That's maybe a bit too creepy. I love it, but it doesn't fit the theme. Let's move it to the very top of everything and see. Maybe there, maybe there. Yeah. All-seeing raven flying over. Command plus plus plus. Let's see what we have. This will be obviously black and gray sleeve, so don't worry about colors just now. Now we will make it stencil ready, and we need to make it black and gray first, but I will save it as a backup. Command Shift S, Photoshop tutorial, yes, saved it as a backup, and you can flatten the whole image and manipulate it that way, but I would like to do it piece by piece because we might change some like lightness and brightness of some elements. Let's go from top down. We have eyeball. You can go into image, adjustments, and hue and saturation, and you can change saturation here. You see eyeball turn black and white, or Command Shift U and it desaturates it. What's the next layer? Crown. Let's go to the crown. Command Shift U, desaturated. If we want to change some values of it, we can go image, adjustment levels, boom. Or we can do Command L and it brings up this stuff. In Procreate, this would be curves kind of a thing, so you can change some values around here. So there's our raven, and I think we will need to brighten it up once it gets black and gray because it's a very dark image on its own. Command Shift U, and it's black and gray, and now I would like to bring lighter tones up, because otherwise stencil will be just black. We have these parts where it might bleed into like white, so there we can use a stroke effect and put a little black line around it, let's say 3 pixels. Now let's go to the rose, Command Shift U, and you see it's very light, so I would like to make it darker, because stencil would be a really light cabbage. Let's say here, and again let's put a line around it, fix, stroke, 3 pixels, beautiful. Compass, Command Shift U, Command L, let's see, maybe a bit darker, stroke, 2 pixel stroke, just to have some separation, Command Shift U, Command L, boom, kind of like that. And for the king I would like to keep just the outlines, because we don't need that blackness in a stencil. Text here, type tool, select it, Command A, select it all, change color to white, effects, stroke, center, let's say 5 pixels, let's say 8 pixels, because it's a big text. Command plus plus plus. Yeah, well, these fades are kind of lame, but like I said, we're just playing around here, we could do a better job. Now Command Option S, I will save it as another backup. This is still okay. Okay, and as you can see, we still have all our layers, so if we have to manipulate this image, we have to do layer by layer or select multiple and then do things with it. Cannot change levels, but I can change the size, but we don't need that. What I want to do, I want to work with the whole thing all together. Actually, now the compass looks a bit too dark, like that. And maybe rose a bit lighter as well. After all, like that. And if we want to flatten the whole image into one layer, what we can do, we can go into layer and down here, flatten image. Yeah, discard hidden layers, and you see now this is all one piece. There's no layers. If we do something, it's a flat image. Let's do some tricks and make it stencil ready. I like to do the following, and I'm not doing the style, but the people who I work with, I show this method and they enjoyed it. So let's try this. You can also check this video as a separate video for how to make stencil on Photoshop and GIMP. It should be up here or in the video description. We have selected now all black colors, and I copy and paste it as a new layer. Command C, Command V. So we have it here. You can see this is all the black stuff. Now let's switch this layer off. Let's go back to the background, and probably only filter that I use, or sometimes I use sharpen, but for this type of stuff, we go in the filter gallery, and let's zoom out a bit. Like there's all sorts of mad artsy stuff. This one is actually maybe, but yeah, let's go to photocopy. I'm familiar with this one, and then you can adjust details and you can adjust darkness. As you can see, the Photoshop is taking its time because it's screen recording on the background. So for people that I know that do this style, something like this would be kind of like enough. For those who like a bit extra information, you can put back the black colors that we selected and copied on a separate layer. And we have this situation going on, so you have it more mapped out, but there's more black to deal with. You have to choose what works for you. Now let's do the printing part and how to print A3 on A4 printer. It's pretty easy. You split it in half, do half and half, and without any fancy copying and pasting in the new stuff, we just go Command P, A2, A4. We have our A4 printer, and we would just do the top part, print, then we go with the bottom part. print, make a stencil, or print as a stencil, and then stick them together, and you have your thing happening. This was my take on a popular F-boy sleeve. Let's see what I have in notes. Few things that I didn't show, but I want to show. Let's get back to the layers. Command Z, 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 Command Z. Boom, we have layers. Now, one thing is rulers. You see, I have rulers here. I have them on already, but if you press Command R, they disappear, and Command R, they appear. It's pretty useful if you need to like align some things. You can pull these things as references and then put objects to those lines, which is pretty cool. Boom, let's get rid of them. Another pretty cool stuff if you need to center pictures or adjust them to some objects, but that's more, I would say, if you're doing some logos or some graphic design type of a work. If you go into selection, there are these parts that are, now we move it and nothing happens, Command Z, but let's say we take a background and we hold Command and we press on this layer, and now they are active. And now in reference to background, if we press these, it will center it, it will right border adjust it, left border adjust it, or same goes at the height. So boom, 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 boom. Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff if you need to put some objects aligned with some text or whatever. Basically layer to layer, so that's pretty useful stuff. And let's put the crown back, bam, 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 bam. There was one thing I wanted to point out that's a very useful selection tool. There's a bunch of useful tools still, like you can crop the whole image if you need to. There's a spot healing tool if you need to edit some pictures, but you took a picture of your tattoo and there's a pimple next to it. You can use these like healing tools and it would fix some sort of errors. It's a huge program. Every little section could have its own sort of video on it. This is just basic that I use in tattoo work, and in my opinion also a desk person should know this stuff because it can improve work highly. Just knowing that photocopy tool, we had a flash event where we had an assistant who knew this stuff. So assistant was preparing designs and people were taking them off the wall. Assistant was preparing stencils, we were just taking them and tattooing, and we were tattooing each other's designs, and it was kind of fun event. And in 12 hours I think we did 114 or 117 tattoos, and it was like 7 or 8 tattooists. It was pretty fun, and without that effective assistant we wouldn't be able to make it, because we would in those 12 hours each probably lose an hour on that amount of people just making stencils. So that's very useful stuff if you're just starting, just to know and understand the basics, or a helper in a shop should know this stuff. And as I stressed it before, learn shortcuts. That speeds up the process big time. And if you have your own favorite shortcut, then leave that in a comment section so we all know, and do all the YouTube-y stuff. Share this video if you're super awesome. Press likes for the algorithms. If you didn't like it, then I'm sorry. Press this like button twice and show your anger. Share your thoughts. See you in the future episodes. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. I'm out. Peace. Whew. That was a long one. Long, and a lot of errors, and I will edit it forever and ever.